last words.
They are indeed famous last words. There we go. Fascinating.
So people can see you?
Yep, and chat at me.
Hello.
And some people are, for no reason I can ascertain. Hi, folks. Yep, late night, just experimenting with the technology. Haven't done anything with it yet, so this is my video week. As a result, I just thought I would try this video format. Yes, Darren, I am very sleepy. Unfortunately, as an insomniac, being sleepy does not mean I'm going to go to sleep. There's no grand plan here. Nothing particularly interesting going on. Just experimenting with streaming. Specifically Facebook streaming. It's interesting. There's a lot of stuff I suppose you could do with it. I mean, I have not tried it, but one could, for example, theoretically stream a game this way. Might not be a great format for that, but you could do it. And I don't know if any of you have done this, but as we get likes and whatever, including one angry, interesting, they go floating across the bottom of the screen. So I guess I am encouraged by whatever's going on.
Why'd you get an angry?
I don't know when I got an angry. Maybe because I couldn't sleep. Robert Gresham says, I know how you feel when so many hits, I just got to deal. Yeah, if I can't sleep, I can't sleep. I will try again here in a little bit. But tell me a halfling bedtime story. Once upon a time, you only get half. I was just sitting around drinking coffee anyway. Yeah, coffee is coffee is a great drink in the morning. In the evening, it is not, my friend. That was probably a mistake. Robert thinks that the angry was a misclick. That's possible. I mean, it's not a big deal if someone is angry. Thank you. Danny Marshall said, bad. Sorry, you can't sleep. Yeah, I mean, it's where I am. It's not quite midnight. My normal schedule has me going to sleep sometime round nowish. Glasses are spectacularly askew. That's not really helping. Oh, well, I guess my glasses are askew. I'm not up because of insomnia. I'm up because it's time to pre-order the iPhone X in 2 minutes. You do you, man. I have the same smartphone that I got when I moved out to Seattle in 2014. This thing is encased in an armored case. This armored case, and I think I just flashed my phone number to everyone. That's fine. It's not a secret. And then the actual phone is encased in here. And there's a story about this, which I guess I have to do a video for sometime. When my wife went to pick out smartphones, I have never owned a smartphone prior to this. I had not even myself owned a mobile phone prior to this, because as a full-time freelancer, I was bolted to my desk all the time at home anyway. So I just had a landline, and that did everything I needed it to do. So my wife, LJ, went to go pick up smartphones, and she said, hey, I'm going to get you a case because you're a little clumsy sometimes. I was like, yeah, that's great. And she and I discussed how much we should spend on a case because Seattle is expensive, and this was early on, and I only had a few paychecks. So she went and she talked to them about cases, and she came back with that armored monstrosity I showed you. And she said, so I spent a little more than we discussed because this sounded like the case you needed. And she handed it to me. And I'm saying, I didn't need a case nearly this, and at that point, I accidentally threw it across the parking lot at Paizo, kicked it trying to pick it up. It slid across the gravel and rested behind the rear wheel of a parked car. I have never had to replace or fix anything on my phone as a result of that heavy armored frame, so I stopped berating my wife for getting me the armored case I actually needed. Let's see what else people are saying. I'm at work until 6 a.m. I'll keep you company for a bit. Man, I have done those at work till 6 a.m. shifts. Those are terrible.
Over 1,000.
My wife is playing a computer game over on the side, and she's over 1,000, which I don't even know what that means, but she's very, very happy about it.
It's very impressive.
I'm told it's very impressive. Adamantium phone case of greater fortitude +2. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is the case of stupidity. This is the case you give stupid people so they don't ruin their iPhone. But it's more a resin than adamantine. I suspect it was excreted from something.
But excreted from what?
Thank you. What's the AC on that case? I presume its KAC is much higher than its EAC because I think of things in Starfinder terms now. For most of my life, I've had the 15-point disad, thinks of the world in game terms. So someone says, sounds like WoW she's playing. LJ does play WoW, but not at the moment. It's currently, well, now it's cards. Previously, it was a weird little game where you had little stacking Russian dolls on a grid, and you had to move them around, and if you got 3 in a row of the same size and color, one would open it would suck up the rest, and they'd get bigger and bigger. I don't know what that is.
Trizzle.
She says it's called Trizzle, which it's fascinating that LJ has so much more experience with sort of what I think of as casual online games than I do, and she will pick one. That's a schmutz on my screen. She'll pick, I guess I should have done this. She'll pick one and she'll play it for months until she's mastered it. And then once she's done with it, and one of the fascinating things is that a lot of these are like, hey, you get 47 moves, but for $5. And she's like, nope, I get 47 moves. And that's part of the challenge for her, which is interesting. Rotating shift work. Hey, LJ. Daniel Marshall says, hey, LJ.
Hey.
Hey. Sean O'Connor, way to go, LJ. Armored case of Vecna. See, if it was the armored case of Vecna, then I would have to remove the current armored case, and then I would replace it with the armored case of Vecna. Those of Vecna. When your wife calls you a nerd. I mean, I work for 4 game companies. Of course I'm a nerd, but I'm a professional nerd. I'm an executive nerd. Nerd executive. Yeah. That's the joke. I admit that I'm fascinated that all I had to do was turn this on and there are people watching and listening and commenting. This is a great distraction from hitting refresh on the wife's Kickstarter. Hey, as long as you've got a Kickstarter, tell us what it's for. This is free advertising, man. What's the Kickstarter? I have run Kickstarters. My heart goes out to everyone that is trying to run a Kickstarter. It's a ton of work, which when I was part of Super Genius Games, we did a Kickstarter like back in 2008, before Kickstarter really hit for what we were calling P20 Modern, because a bunch of people told us, oh, people want that so much, a modern game for Pathfinder. They want it so much, maybe it was 2009 or 10, but it was many years ago, that they will pay you enough money to cover all 3 of you. There were 3 of us working there at the time. For like the 6 months it'll take to write it up. And we're like, well, that'd be like $70,000. Oh yeah, they'll totally pay you $70,000. And of course, we could have taken out a $70,000 small business loan and assumed that everyone was right. But instead, we ran a Kickstarter and we raised about 14 grand, which is not bad. That's a fair amount of money, but it didn't reach our goal. So we know the demand isn't there, or if it is, we're not reaching those people. Of course, eventually I did Anachronistic Adventures. I just did it piecemeal, which is basically my version of P20 Modern. So the Kickstarter that is being done, Randall Scott Newman tells us, is Storm Hollow Call to Adventure. So folks, if you have nothing better to do at 12:03 a.m. Pacific time, by all means, go look up Storm Hollow Call to Adventure and see if it's something you're interested in. Obviously, I'm not super familiar with it because I just learned about it on my live chat, but I'm happy to boost on the hey, go look and see if you like it theory, because if you guys are interested in it, that's an opportunity, and if you're not, I trust you all to do that. Let's see. My wife's like that too. She'll pick up a game and play it to the total exclusion of everything else while I jump from game to game. Yeah, it's very much like that. Oh, hey, Daryl. Daryl was in the middle of rewriting a script for a video about the unseen. Ever tried to make trademark lawsuits over tabletop games and an enemy series entertaining? There's a link to Storm Hollow in the comments if anyone wants to go. No, Daryl, I've done a lot of weird writing. That is not on that list, and I wish you well, brother. Sean O'Connor, I figure there's a better use of my time than ripping into Palladium Books Incorporated for their latest weekly update. I don't think I own any Palladium books anymore, but I own Rifts and Beyond the Supernatural and the Palladium role-playing game, and I have never liked the system, but wow, do I like some of the ideas and the charts and the graphs, and they did their own runes and circle system. That was awesome.
You just said the Supernatural, and it made me think.
The Supernatural.
Yeah, but I was just thinking the Kama Sutra Natural.
No, I like Supernatural as, this spell is sick.
Yeah.
You need a spell doctor for the Supernatural. Actually, how's it been to be on the receiving end of Starfinder? Seems like it's been a big hit. Just wondering if it took you a bit by pleasant surprise, Kim Franson asked. So you never, ever, ever know how a role-playing game is going to be received until it's received. And honestly, we won't really know how popular Starfinder is for a couple of years, right? I mean, if you think of almost any big release that major companies have done, and they can sell a lot of copies early on. I admit that demand has taken the company somewhat by surprise. Yeah, I would say I was surprised. I'm surprised not only by the demand, but the level of involvement. The Starfinder Society has a lot of people super involved. Freelancers are really, really interested in writing it. So a bunch of third-party stuff that's being done, including by companies I'm involved with other than Paizo. So I am not here wearing my Paizo hat. I'm here just as it's midnight and I had nothing else to do hat. So I feel free to talk about, Rogue Genius has been doing Starfarer's Companion and Starfarer's Codex, and Matt Morris has been writing a lot of those for us. And I had not really worked with Matt prior to this, so that's one of the nice things it's done is it's brought me an opportunity to work with new people. But those books are all super popular, and I think it's going to influence what the popularity of the core books is going to influence what Paizo does going forward, and I think the popularity of the Rogue Genius books is going to influence what Rogue Genius does. And Alex Agunas is going to hate that he missed this, but he should be asleep. His Everyman Games, which releases products through Rogue Genius, is doing their own line, which you will regularly see in the top 20 of Starfinder books. So it's been really, really, really interesting. Let's see. I'm losing comments. Is there any way for me to scroll up on this? Yes, there is. Hey. Middle of rewriting. Daryl Mott. Jacob's here. Hey, Jacob. Good to see you.
What are you doing awake, Jacob?
Yeah, Jacob, you're in a different time. Jason said, I'm stealing a lot of stuff from Rifts for my Starfinder campaign. Yeah, that's a great use for Rift stuff, in my opinion. Let's see. Storm Hollow is a hybrid RPG board game, an RPG with tons of art and board game components. I really appreciate the shout out. And man, you're welcome. You're here at midnight my time. You're entertaining me as much as anything else. I hope you're kickstarted as well. I genuinely wish you well. Going live on your phone is a bit weird regarding the interface. I have finished up playing our weekly Runelord session. Only 45 sessions left. That is interesting. Jacob again. Sean O'Connor got like 70 Palladium books. I mean, their intellectual property is freaking awesome. Robotech Rifts, TMNT, great stuff. But the system is hugely clunky. That's my opinion as well. I think they do a lot of awesome stuff. And honestly, I think Beyond the Supernatural was a really influential book for how I viewed sort of modern urban magic supernatural settings. I also see a lot of its influence in things like D20 Modern's urban arcane setting and some of the more popular fiction stuff that happens now. So I think they do a lot of great world building. I would love to see like movies or animated series based on their stuff, even though mostly I don't want to play their games, although now Savage Worlds is an option. Robert Gresham, third PP for the win. Yep. Daryl Mott joined again. Welcome once more. Jacob Blackman. I'm awake because I was watching Legends of Tomorrow. We're recording it. We actually haven't started this season yet. We're watching Gotham because it is a fascinating Elseworlds setting, which I think is going to end up being what would Elseworlds, Gotham, if Batman was too young to actually deal with any of his villains, which is a perfectly legit Elseworlds comment. Although I don't want to spoil her, but he's definitely on some sort of vigilante path at this point. Gabrielle Munoz, do you have any favorite characters either you or someone else has run in one of your Starfinder games? So Amanda Hammond-Coons, who did a lot of work on trying to make Starfinder friendlier to new people. She did a lot of the examples of play and the introductory material, and she really took, in many cases, what were very kludgy, heavy rock things that we were saying, here is a huge tome of rules, and was like, here's an on-ramp to understand it. But she has a Isoki technomancer named Petal, who is objectively the best technomancer, and I have gotten to play with Petal in games where I was a player for playtests. Sorry, folks, I'm going to ramble a little bit. It is midnight. It's been a long day for me. And I've also gotten to run her in the most recent Twitch stream, which I believe if you go to Paizo's official Twitch channel, or probably even Paizo's YouTube at this point, you can find I ran Into the Iron Hive, which was a 2 or 3 hour, I honestly don't remember how many hours, short adventure I ran, and Petal was a character there. So I'm a big fan of Petal. Amanda, I really like your character Petal. And then I had Wothar Ironstar, which is a dwarf that I did in playtests that I wanted to see how dwarfs worked in Starfinder, how the legacy races worked. And so we wanted to play test those things. And he's specifically a dwarf Solarian. So he's a dwarf that can summon a big energy weapon, which I was very excited about. And if you read carefully through the Starfinder book, you'll see that the name Iron Star ended up being labeled as one of the largest of the Dwarven Star Citadels. So I liked him so much, I made him an immortal part of the setting. Let's see. I'm awake because of Stranger Things. Okay, that's fair. Stranger Things Season 2 is dropping. I am on deadline. I mean, obviously not right this second because I'm not writing anything right this second. But yeah, Stranger Things Season 2 is hitting Netflix the whole season. I've got some time off coming. I have to hit my current deadline, but I've got 2 like week-long breaks and at least one 4-day weekend. And then like a random Thursday I'm taking off. I think maybe it's Friday. I took a day off to see Star Wars, I'll be honest. And I took a day off to see Thor. So I've got some time off coming. I suspect my wife and I will, during one of those weeks of vacation, which is, it's going to be a staycation. Mostly I need the time to not have to get up and do stuff, right? Vacations where you go places are great, but right now the last thing I need is a vacation where at the end of it, I'm like, well, that was fun, but exhausting. I need some extra sleep. And the alarm goes off and I have to go back to work. So I'm carefully scheduling some time where I can just sleep in and work on miniatures. And I've got a partially finished tank project, which I've shown a bunch of pictures of, and it's right here if I can remember where the heck I put. Oh, here. It's under a box. I'm not going to get it out. Sorry to tease everyone. Everything. Well, here. I can actually move this over here. Maybe I can. Okay. If you guys can still hear me, that right there is a in-project tank project where I'm trying to make a Tsar 2 rolling tank. And I've done a lot of work on that fuselage, including getting it ready for a turret. You can see where I put some chipboard in. And it's going to have ped rails, big wheels that were popular in World War I and never used in World War II, because I've got a diesel punk setting just for my own amusement, where pretty much no one uses treads for anything that they trust. So it's mostly walkers. I've got just a ton of diesel punk walker things I have done, which are, I mean, none of these are the least bit realistic, but the whole point, right, is to take these models, and I usually modify them, kit them out, and do walking tanks. But the core conceit of the setting is not that everyone makes walking tanks. The core conceit is that no one trusts treads, that treads are seen as weak and unreliable. So there are other vehicles that people attempt in this imaginary setting, which is just my hobby. So like this is a rolling tank based on the tumbleweed. So stuff like that. I've wanted to get to that for quite a while. So I think that's everybody's questions currently.
Be a good time.
Oh no, there are a ton of
passports.
questions. I just didn't roll down. Let's see. Stranger Things. I'm up rewatching Stranger Things. Good. Rifts would be a fantastic Netflix animated series. Netflix, if the fact that I said Stranger Things means that you're listening, Rifts would make a fantastic Netflix animated series. He'll get there. Oh heck, Stranger Things. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah. As a Riddler fan, I don't like him homicidal. You know, I have found the current Riddler on Gotham fascinating. I have always liked the Riddler as sort of a super genius plotter, which is one of the things that can set him aside from the Joker, because otherwise he's a low-rent Joker. And obviously, as with many of the current superhero television shows, this is largely a soap opera. If he was the only version available, I would be annoyed, but as one take on him, I find it interesting for someone to delve into the origin of the Riddler, which is not really something I've seen done a whole lot. Amanda is awesome. Yes, Darren, Amanda is very awesome. I'm trying to swap over to nights for testing a big natural gas compressor station we're building, so you're helping. I'm also working on learning Daz Studio for making new art. Michael McNeil is a third-party publisher guy and a friend who I met online, but I've now gotten to meet in person. But he also does a lot of, gas compressor and petroleum and drilling and piping work. So I'm not surprised you're up late, dude. Hello, Cork. I thought, hey, Owen, I just watched Gotham and a new Arrow episodes. I haven't watched the season of Arrow yet. I was very annoyed at the last season of Arrow, and then it made me happy at the end, so I'm sort of waiting till I have enough that I can watch more than one episode at a time so I don't get annoyed if there's just one bad one. Daryl Mott says it's on the YouTube as of 2 days ago if you made the World's Great Marathon stream. Yeah, I did Into the Emerald. Sorry, I did Into the Iron Hive at the World Skype Marathon stream. So Daryl Mott, game and RPG journalist, tells us that that is up as of 2 days ago. Pardon me. Kim Franston, seems like you have half the freelancing world is here tonight. There are more people watching than I expected for something that I did because I was testing to see if this worked and did not advertise and did not click like and didn't tell anyone I was doing. A little amazed. There's a vote for Gotham is freaking excellent. Time off is always good for regenerating. Yep, Star Wars is a legitimate excuse for days off. Yep, especially at a company owned by Lisa Stevens. Jacob Blackman, I know what you mean, Owen. I need a vacation where I don't do anything for a couple of days. Yeah, man, you probably do. Stream now, not safe for work thanks to that mecha. So that was like not, it's, okay, fine. Dieselpunk needs more love. I'm still trying to find a good system for it. Steampunk seems to get the love instead. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I wrote Anachronistic Adventures for, which is my Pathfinder modern game that I put together, is to be able to do Dieselpunk stuff, but I don't have mecha rules for it yet. I've got a lot, I mean, I suppose actually, I've got vehicle rules. You could actually use my vehicle rules for mecha. I hadn't thought about that. That's actually an interesting idea.
Recording this?
What? Facebook, I think, is automatically recording, but that's one of the things I'm curious about. Gabriel Munoz, pedal sounded familiar. They made it into Starfinder official merch, too. They're on the packaging for the combat pad. Yeah, she's also in one of the examples of play. For that matter, Rothar is also in an example of play, my character, but because in that example of play, they named me as the GM, they actually, and I don't know if you know this, LJ, you were listed as the player. So you are listed as a player in example of play in the Starfinder core rulebook. And I'm not the one that did that. Someone else decided since I was the GM, they would have you playing my character.
Well, that was sweet.
Dieselpunk, fun. Most of my attention gets focused on privateer press stuff. Sure. Shadowrun with Bright. Bright is fascinating. For those of you that haven't seen, Bright is a movie coming out on Netflix later this year that is, it should clearly be called Orc Cop, right? So it's a Shadowrun-like universe, not the cyberpunk stuff, but a modern setting with fantasy races. And Will Smith is an experienced beat cop who gets a new orc cop partner who has to deal with all the diversity hire jokes. And they run into sort of a epic, maybe quest type situation. And my wife hates spoilers. I mean, hates spoilers. So that is all I'm going to tell you about that. But I'm fascinated by the look of it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, especially since it's on Netflix, so I don't have to do anything extra. You should post those vehicle mecha rules to your blog. Yeah, I mean, if I could take the existing vehicle rules, which are a little weird, and do a vehicle mech combo for it. It might actually work real well, and that would make an excellent blog post.
Are you
And
writing down any of these ideas?
No, sweetheart, I'll just watch this later. It's only 16 minutes long. Okay, 18 minutes long. And if you want to see more stuff on my blog, by all means, support my Patreon, which is like patreon.com/Owen or something silly. Let's see. It is patreon.com/Owen Casey Stevens, all run together. Facebook does record this, yes, says Jacob. Good, great, so I can go over this again. Michael McNeil, vehicle golem plus wearable construct equals mecha. Daryl Mott puts a clamp on his Bright is not Shadowrun rant as a Shadowrun. No, Daryl, you're absolutely right. There are tons of things that are different between Bright and Shadowrun. But in that, it is a street-level modern adventure with fantasy races. There are definitely similarities there. It doesn't appear to have cybernetics or dragons running mega corporations, both of which are crucial to that true Shadowrun feel. Not to mention that in Shadowrun, everything just happened one day, I believe 2012, actually, so we're past that, thank goodness. And in Bright, I believe it's a fantasy world that's advanced, although I don't know that much about it. But no, you're right. There are absolutely differences. I'm afraid that one would turn into a Will Smith-centric story and not something Shadowrun-esque. Yeah, maybe. Oh, Jacob posted to my Patreon. Thanks, folks. And Daryl posted to my Patreon. I appreciate the support, folks. And I believe that means I'm all caught up on the comments, which is fascinating.
Keep using that word.
What, fascinating or comments? This is my life. My wife kibitzes from off-screen. Or for those of you that are aware of where my wife sits in relation to me, but not aware of how the camera works, off-screen. So, and our cat is having a conniption fit in the background.
She's having the zips.
Yeah, she has to be somewhere else right now.
Hi.
You need to add, Michael McNeil says, you need to add small vehicles to those rules, like jetpacks. Either we talked about it once or I had this really interesting dream. I think we did talk about it once. Kim Franston, it certainly feels like it'd be a great intro to Shadowrun to an outsider. Simply go, bright is pretty much it. Some differences like cybernetics. Daryl Mott, I've always thought that Leverage was Shadowrun TV series in terms of tone. That's a really fascinating example, and I certainly think it has the heist. A crucial portion of Shadowrun is that you are doing shadow runs. You're making runs, and Leverage has that sort of heist, small expert group against the man kind of feel to it. Honestly, one of the things that I found fascinating about almost all cyberpunk is that most Western plots can be grafted over to be cyberpunk plots. It's just that instead of cattle barons, you've got mega corporations, and instead of the lone gunman that comes into town, you've got street samurai, and instead of the wireless telegraph, you've got the internet. So, I mean, it's not perfect, but the plots all transfer over pretty well, I think. Jacob says, we love you, LJ. We all get that.
We love you too, Jacob.
It's true. We do love our Jacob. We all get that from our wives. My poor pet cat got attacked by a raccoon. Oh no, Robert. Raccoons are supposed to be bandits, not thugs. Living in Portland, it was fun to have the show Leverage there, sure. Any Halloween plans? My existing Halloween plans are to be here. It's like a Tuesday, I think. Mm-hmm. And I've got a ton of time off already scheduled. And as I said, I'm on deadline. So there's a window right here from our office, and you can see our front door from that window because we're in an apartment, and so it's just around there. So if we slide this window open, not only can we see kids, but honestly, if I take the screen out, I could pass candy out from the office. So however I do it, my basic plan is to... Cattail in the background. My plan is to have a bucket of full-sized candy because I don't think fun sizes are fun, and mini fun sizes are only half as much fun as the not as fun sizes. And we just, I mean, if we had 500 kids, that'd be different, but I suspect we'll get 20. And for me, it is worth the extra money to see a 6-year-old's eyes light up when you give them a full-size Snickers or throw a couple M&M bags or whatever.
Hey, what he's not telling you is that his birthday is on Saturday, and we're going to go see Geostorm to celebrate. Yes,
my birthday is on Saturday, and I like bad movies. So we already did some of the celebration by going to a Brazilian steakhouse for Endless Meat Parade. But this Sunday, we're going to do brunch with some friends, and we're going to see Geostorm together because it's the only way that they would see it is because it's celebrating my birthday. So that's the other plan. Trash Pandas, yes. Bright should be an excellent recruitment tool for Shadowrun campaigns. Come on over, watch a movie, and bring every D6 you can find. That's fair. Daryl Mott, fun size is only fun if you give out like 4 to 6 of them, so it's the same as a candy bar, and then you can sit in a circle and trade candy with your friends. Sure, you could do that, but it's not the size at that point that's fun. It's the variety. And if everyone gave you full-size candy bars, you could do the same thing, and you just wouldn't have to trade as much. Pardon me. Gabriel Munoz said, Munoz? I apologize if I'm butchering your name at 12:30 in the morning. But anyway, happy early birthday. Thank you. Apparently I've got 16 people watching this, which I don't think I get 16 likes on a typical post I make. And of course I will very quickly run out of interesting things to say.
I doubt that.
Metatorium. I ordered 200 D6s. Do you think that's enough? Me, about to run a Shadowrun game a few years ago. I mean, for just one player, that's plenty. For everyone, it might not be. First pronunciation was correct. All right, Manas. Great. Thank you. Favorite Halloween movie? Asks Robert Gresham. His is Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead is interesting. I like the concept of Pumpkinhead much more than I like the execution. I'm a pretty big fan of the original Halloween. I'm a big Carpenter fan, so I like it. I'm not sure what qualifies as a Halloween movie. I really like Prince of Darkness, which is another Carpenter film, which is not a movie that has a neat ending or makes a whole lot of sense, but it pitches so many radical concepts that I really, really like it.
I have a message for you.
You're not going to like it. Yeah. Too bad Shadowrun 5th has many problems. It's errata edition time, contrary to Paizo. Okay, I stop about the SR things. Yeah, we all have the games that we love and the games that are problems, right? I loved Starfleet Battles, but about the time that I could not get all the rules into a 4-inch wide binder, I gave up on it. We are the hardcore crowd. Fair enough. Jacob Blackman, I'm sure we're all just waiting for you to break out in a lengthy Kevin Smith-esque story.
No, it's recording.
Yeah. The good... I mean, I've got a lot of fairly good stories. Most of them I've already videotaped, and they're on my YouTube channel, which I'm guessing, given what has happened so far, someone will post a link to my YouTube channel. The Rebel Lieutenant is the best story I have, full stop, and there's a reason why it has 10,000 hits, whereas my next best thing is like 2,000 hits. Most of the stories I have left that I can think of are either inane, or they're telling you about my character, or... But okay, fine, I'll tell a story. So I got a lap band, which is a laparoscopic procedure to put a little loop that takes a little pouch of your stomach and keeps it above this little hoop. So the food gets stuck in this little pouch, and then it goes through the tube, and it hits the lower part of the stomach. So it's not like a bypass. Everything you eat, you have the full nutritional value of. It's just like a little internal measuring cup. And at the time that I got that, several friends were playing a 3-5 game over at my house on a fairly regular basis, and I really liked that campaign. And I had a paladin named Emmett Toth. And yeah, I'm telling them about my character. And I did not want to miss that game, which we played every 2 weeks, and a few days after my surgery, which was an outpatient procedure, we were supposed to play. So I was like, I want to play. And they're like, you're going to be on so much painkiller. Yeah, but I want to play. So Ian Allen is a friend of ours, decided to go ahead and run, and he had this huge fight sequence. We were like 16th, 17th level at this point. And my paladin had Spirited Charge, and a flying mount, and a lance, and for whatever reason, and 3-5 Smite Evil, obviously. And so, speaking of 3-5 game, he had put a whole lot of effort into making a custom beholder. And not only had he done a whole bunch of custom stats for this beholder, but he had used a ton of pipe cleaners to make a beholder about this big that had all the little different eye rays, and he carefully made sure that each one ended in a little different gem that he hot glued on. And it was on a little base, so it was, you know, a homemade beholder figure, and this was the main villain. And he had like 4 waves of villains between us and them, and there was a no teleporting field so that our spellcaster couldn't just get over there. And he had covered the vast majority of issues, but he forgot that an anti-magic field does not prevent a hippogriff from flying. And so I was flying around looking for a good angle, and at one point the beholder turned off its anti-magic ray, so I charged it from the air while smiting evil with a lance and got a crit. Now, I don't remember this because I was on a ton of painkiller, but my flying Egyptian paladin smote the beholder and killed it in one shot, doing somewhere between, what, 300 and 400 hit points? You were there.
No, I don't even remember.
Okay, a ton of hit points. I was 16th level. It was the major villain. I killed it.
You neutralized
it. By a considerable margin. And so Ian was like, well, that was the fight for the evening. That was 4 hours of entertainment. I will need some time to figure out what to throw up against you guys next. And I was like, well, I'm pretty tired because I'm on all this painkiller and I had surgery, so I'm sleeping every few hours. I'll take a little nap, you know, half an hour, whatever time you need. You all can eat dinner because I'm at this point just sipping broth. Pardon me, folks. And that's all I can eat. And just wake me when it's time to play. And they're like, sure. And so I went and laid down, and I woke up like 20 hours later. And LJ was like, well, Ian was gamely willing to try to run another game. We came in to wake you and couldn't. So we put a mirror up to make sure you were breathing. We checked your incisions. They were all clean. So the guys ate dinner and went home, and it's now the next day. So there's a lengthy story. And I actually formed, this is going to be Kevin Smithy. I actually formed, as a result of that, a formula that I used in 3.5, which I called the Spirited Charge value. And that is, if you have a monster that can be killed on a crit with a Spirited Charge lance attack in one shot, that monster cannot be a boss villain for your group. Because while that number was based on Spirited Charge, you can have maximized extended fireballs. You can have monks with Flurry of Blow and 2-weapon fighting and a weapon of haste. So I had this calculation that I came up with, which it doesn't work in Pathfinder because the numbers are different. I could do a calculation, but the numbers are different. Trick or Treat, best Halloween movie ever. Interesting. Concept over production, great Shane Carpenter film. Yes, someone, Daryl Mott. Who would have thought that our reporter would have the links to all of this stuff? Thank you, Daryl. Posted to my YouTube if you can. Let's see. Robert Gresham. As a comic, I'd suggest studying Christopher Titus on some cool tips on jazzing up spoken stories. I've watched Christopher Titus. I like him. Normally, when I tell a story, I intend on recording it instead of this, which is entirely by accident. Jacob Blackman, trying to climb a ladder on a ship. I've told that story too. That's on my YouTube. It's the only story where I use the phrase "fuck my dog." Powder and painkillers, 3D combat. What could go wrong? Indeed. Smoked the Beholder. Classic quote. YouTube channel. If it doesn't get flagged to spam this time, It's not. Just so you know, Daryl, it's not flagged to spam on my screen, even if it is flagged to spam on. But I appreciate it either way, and people can find it. Right there are not that many Owen Casey Stevens, so you can do Owen Stevens Rebel Lieutenant, and it will take you to my page. What?
Remember, it is K period C period, not CASEY.
Yeah, there are people that think my name is Owen Casey Stevens. So Daryl lets us know it was giving him the notification. Since only Facebook can figure out who gets that notification and why and when, I guess maybe they could be just leaning on you. That looks like spam, Daryl. Don't you dare. And other people might. If anyone else is seeing Daryl's original post of my YouTube channel as spam, let me know. Yeah, it's 12:30. This has been a half hour now. So this is fascinating. I thank you all for joining me for a half hour of late night conversation. If this is popular, I might well do it more, and I might post up the video somewhere, and we'll see what people think. So if anyone wants to get in a last lick, now's the time to do it. Let's see. Seems to be showing just fine. Tim Knight just joined. We're going to cut out in a sec, Tim. It's not you, we promise. It's us. I'm not even sure if Facebook can figure that out. The arcane formula they use is not made by... Yeah, no, that's the logarithms on Facebook are bizarre. All right, folks, I'm going to hit finish. I hope everyone has a good night. Thank God it's Friday. Should be Friday for all of us, I suspect, unless someone's in Hawaii or Japan. Thanks for joining me. It's a fun experiment. Let me do it again. Talk to you all later.
Love you all.
LJ loves you. Good night.